everybody, it's me, James John. On today's episode of Crying in My Car, we're going to be talking about Crime Line, the anonymous phone line that you can actually call and report crimes. The uptick is in schools, if you can believe it or not. Then we're going to head over to Delaware. There's 400 teachers that they found that did not have a license to teach. That's a problem. Then we're going to end things with, you can't actually put a price tag on parenting, but what if you could actually find parents of students that have bad behavior? All this and more coming up on a brand new episode of Crying in My Car right now.
Hey everybody, Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. My name is Devin Siebold. Got James John here, my good buddy, and we're here to hopefully make you laugh. And the end of the school day, as you approach the summer, you're almost at the finish line, and we're here to hopefully get you over that line. And don't be hesitant to support us, by the way. Patreon.com/cryinginmycar if you'd like a shout out on the podcast and also to access all the bonus materials. And then don't forget as well, you can support just by hitting share, thumbs up, like, and rating us 5 stars over on the podcast platform. So, yeah, any help is appreciated. And don't forget also that we, or, just you or just me even, if you really like James, go for it. Teachersneedlaughter.com. Message me and say, you know what, Devin, you're funny, but James is the attractive one. And I'd like him to come to my school and provide some laughter. Done. We love to come to your school and hopefully provide some laughter and heart. There's good message as well.
There you go, brother.
I am proud of my presentation, by the way. The presentation that I do in the schools, I'm so proud. It took me years to develop, and it is very good.
I actually got to witness you do it,
Yes.
my friend, and it was very eye-opening for me. The way that you interweave good messages, the way you try to encourage teachers, and you give them a way to do it that's easily obtained by them, it was very good. I was very proud of you when I saw it, man.
All right,
It was
here's your
good.
$100.
Okay, thank you very much for that. McRibs for everybody. All right.
I love talking about uplifting things on here.
Yes.
But also sometimes there is a reality, and the reality is a negative reality. I heard something on the radio literally yesterday that I figured I'd bring up today to you, James.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a new reality, kind of a scary one too, to be honest with you. It made me think about my own children and going, oh my gosh, like what kind of situation are they in? So there's a local radio show that you and I used to be on.
Okay.
And we'd occasionally be guests on it in the morning. And they bring in a detective. It's a detective in Central Florida area.
Okay.
And she works with Crime Line. And they talk about all the tips that come in. And they're like, if you got a tip, you can report it, you get money. And you get money if we catch somebody. If there's, crime happening, let us know.
Yeah.
More severe the crime, the better the tip, let us know. And they were asking her a little bit about statistics. They're like, do you get a lot of tips? And she's like, yeah, I get a lot of tips. And we pay out a lot of money to these people. And they're all anonymous. Luckily, there's a lot of crimes that really do get solved or preempted. Like there's crimes that they see that somebody might be planning something or plotting something.
Got it.
Now, here's the interesting thing. She said, unfortunately, one of the statistics that has grown to be the majority now of the tips on Crime Line are children in schools are giving tips on other students. And she said that there are an abundance now, more so than there's ever been, of students reporting crime in their schools. Kids with weapons, kids that might harm somebody, kids that might harm themselves.
Okay.
Kids that are a threat. Maybe somebody said something, and she said that it's become really disheartening that it used to be like, this person robbed a bank and it was adults.
Yes.
She said now it's literally got more kids reporting other kids than actual other crimes in our community.
That's sad.
Dude, I sat there, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, and I never even, thought about kids reporting it through Crime Line. You think, oh, go to your teacher, or say something. And it was like, is the trust eroded there? Do they not have the faith in us to accomplish something? School resource officers, or are they going for money? Also it is money oriented. I mean, but it's only like $100, but to a kid, that's
hey, bro,
a lot.
these Jordans ain't gonna buy themselves.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But,
all right.
But also, like, are you doing the right thing for the right purpose?
Reason.
And I don't know. There were so many questions that just flooded my mind. I was like, is this where we are now, that the most crime in our community is in our schools, which literally should be the safest part of our community? You would like to think. Yeah.
You would like, come on.
Where's the admin presence? Is the teacher presence enough? We obviously need more teachers, but if there's this much crime, I
and they're taking resource officers away, by the way.
Yeah, sometimes, they are. There's some counties, like Lake County has this program where they train like people to handle weapons, and they call them like guardian angels or something maybe, and they have them in schools in addition to resource officers. Normally it's like two or three of them.
Or actual cop and lack of a better term, security guards.
Yeah.
Armed security guards.
Yep.
Yeah.
And armed and trained. But again, they're paying them to be there, and it's a paid position. But, I mean, you hope you never need them, but also you're like, man, is this where we're at? It's just a very disheartening view of society that we see coming up.
And I'll say this as a parent, man, it's gotten exponentially worse since my kids were in school.
Yeah.
Like in their schools, and they might have been lucky, knock on wood, they didn't have to deal with a lot of things that I hear now happening in schools, which is terrifying, by the way. When my kids were in school, active shooter wasn't a normal thing.
Right.
It was something that you heard about that happened in Columbine. It was like, that's tragic. Now, more and more, it's starting to happen everywhere, and not just schools, but I could definitely see the way society is going as far as what people are willing to do now is like crime-wise, what people don't consider a bad thing anymore. I can definitely see drug crimes. I can definitely see weapon crimes and stuff like that. It's things that people see and they try to emulate, so to speak. So yeah, that's where we're at right now.
We're at a point now where, do you ever hear about this is the anniversary of this shooting, and you don't remember it? Like they go, oh, this is Buffalo. And you have to go, Buffalo. Oh, the supermarket.
Yeah.
But sometimes they go, oh, this is that one school. This is that one incident. This is when they had this at the, YouTube headquarters. We forget YouTube, and sometimes we just forget them.
We forget them because it's become normalized.
There's so many that happen. But here's the interesting thing that they did. They had a little discussion about it. One of the things, though, that somebody brought up on the show that I really hope is true, and he said it, and I do agree with it. He said, even though sometimes it seems like these instances are more happening, he thinks, and I think too, that this current generation, the Gen Z and the millennials, we have a different relationship with guns than older people.
Yes.
Our relationship with guns is a point of fear, is a point of we know the consequences. The generation that grew up before us has a point of hunting. It's our lifestyle. It's our way of doing things. Yeah. You grew up on Davy Crockett. You grew up on wild westerns and the pulling out of the Smith & Wesson and pop, and all that.
I grew up in the country. That was normal. Everybody got guns for like Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah. It was used for hunting.
Yeah. But nowadays, I think we see the things like what happened on the FSU campus, and we see these videos, and we don't have that loved relationship anymore. I think generally speaking, what he was trying to say is this generation's view of guns
is a negative connotation.
For the first time, and that maybe some action could be taken in the future. Unfortunately, the people in power, the lawmakers, aren't really active in doing much about it. And I'm not saying that we just ban guns, but I think there should be more safety protocols in place.
And that's a touchy subject. Just like when you talk about Department of Education being dismantled, you mentioned gun reform. It's oh my gosh, yeah.
But I'm just tired of turning on the TV and going, oh well, that happened. Well, what did we do since the last one? Nothing. Okay. And it's so wild because here in the state of Florida, we had the FSU shooting.
Yes.
And then like a day later, the governor was supposed to vote or try to push down the age to own a gun from 21 to 18. They had raised it to 21 during Parkland, in the wake of Parkland, as a way of, curbing gun violence.
Yes.
And then now they're like, back down to 18. It's like we just forget We forget, and we go, well, that's not, things aren't working the way
I heard a great term, willfully obtuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. But I just thought that crime line statistic kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't ready to hear that. And then you think about your own kids and you're like, are my kids, in an environment where things are being reported? Because these are anonymous.
Yes.
So, you don't know who the student is. Sometimes a student may not even give the proper details in order to thwart the situation. These are kids.
There are kids.
And they go, oh, the kid in third period it has a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but did you tell them which school? Did you tell them what the teacher is? Did you tell them, there's details that they need to know, and sometimes you wonder, is the proper details getting out there?
Getting actually reported.
Yeah.
Like, are you really keeping this from happening if you don't give all the right details?
Right.
Like yeah.
I mean, maybe we should give them some guidelines, on reporting stuff like this, because a lot of schools have reporting things for bullying,
They do.
But if there's instances of, see something, say something, maybe we should have something more streamlined.
At the actual school where it's still anonymous.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to go to the cops.
Right.
And I would just tell parents, I would tell teachers and students, stay safe. I mean, honestly, God bless.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into the teachers in the news.
Teachers.
There is a teacher and a musician that is releasing an album. Now, this was just simply a press release. Sometimes I go through and I see big, stories with tons of articles. This was somebody's press release. And I'm telling you right now, it was on a local news site, but I am a big proponent of teachers pushing their creativity outside the classroom.
Okay.
I did it myself. This teacher has a dream and they are going for it, so I wanted to bring it up on here. Shana Rothman, Chana Rothman, Rothman, is releasing her first album in 10 years. Currently, she also leads the music program at Jack Barak Hebrew Academy.
Okay.
And she's releasing an album. It was just a press release for an album, but here's the thing. I love supporting teachers that are pursuing creative endeavors.
Why not?
So I went ahead and I listened.
Okay.
She's got a new album coming out. The new album's not out yet, but the last album that was out 10 years ago is out. I really dug the vibe. It was like a 70s vibe, and it's it was really like, honestly, it was something that I think I'm like, man, this sounds like something you would hear at Woodstock. Like, to me, it reminded me of the old Schoolhouse Rock songs, that were in the 70s and stuff. And
some of my favorites.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I was listening to it and I was like, this is fantastic. So I wish Shana Rothman the best. I hope that the album release goes great. Hope there's some popularity. I noticed that the listens weren't very high, so hopefully we can get those listens up.
Nice, man.
Take a second to listen to it. Very 70s, kind of probably inspired by everything in her classroom all around her being from 1971, and she lives that life as a teacher. We know nothing gets updated. But yeah, there was some cool, like, I was kind of digging it, and I thought I would just listen to like one song, and I ended up listening to like 4 or 5, and then I even came back to another song because I really liked it.
Okay.
I was like, all right, this is legit. Like, it was very, very talented, and it was unique. I really thought, I was like, man, this is not like cookie cutter. She's got her own style.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I definitely want to support that teacher doing that, because you were creative with your videos and look where you are now.
Yeah.
You never know where it take you. And I like the fact you brought up something that we used to use a lot in learning, and it's kind of gone away. I love when we would take something fun and use it as a learning tool. Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah.
All those things we used to use, I retain that information.
Mm-hmm.
I will still walk around, I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
Yep.
Yeah, bro, bring that back.
Yeah, I
Run
agree.
that back,
That
man.
stuff's great. Now, there is the modern day Schoolhouse Rock kind of ish with Jack Hartman.
Yes.
Jack Hartman does a lot of songs,
Yes.
and he's a great guy. He's also, like me, a St. Jude ambassador supporter. I see him on all the email chains. I kind of want to respond and be like, hey, Jack, Devin here. I don't know if you know me. Probably your biggest fan. But yeah, it's kind of cool. So,
nice, man.
all right, next one. A Sarasota elementary teacher has been running but with a blade on her leg because she had to have her leg amputated.
Okay.
Now, after
right.
doctors told her she wouldn't and shouldn't run, apparently she had a disability where there was a lot of pain within her entire body. And they said that it would just be very painful to run. And Claire Sterling said, you know what? I take that as a challenge. You say I can't do something, I'm going to do it. She wanted to show her students that you can do anything you put your mind to. And she also just got really tired of being the last teacher to the parking lot. She's like, the hell with this. I'm not doing this. But
she's on a block at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really cool. She's now runs, and she's ran like a whole bunch of races, and I think she's going for like a marathon. And but no, it's super awesome for her. But I love seeing also teachers overcome challenges. When they tell you can't do something, she said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
She's running, and she lost a leg.
She lost a leg, and it's got the blade now, which is kind of.
Those are cool.
Can you imagine being a student late for class and turning around and seeing the T1000 coming after you, and you're like, I don't stand a chance, dude. I'm gonna go right back to where I mean, obviously, what happened to her is terrible, but having that blade in school, I mean, the kids probably think it's pretty neat. They're like, wow, and then to see what you can do with it,
because you can run, like run with that thing.
Yep.
That's awesome.
It's got to be pretty neat. So,
good for her.
The last one, this is a bit longer, but man, these statistics blew my mind.
Okay.
James, in Delaware,
my favorite state,
there was an evaluation, and they found that 400 teachers are working on expired teacher licenses. They're not licensed currently to be in the classroom.
How does one do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because literally, like, they are so adamant about having teacher licenses up to date in certain states. I don't know how Delaware, they just got away with not doing it. You know, but it also kind of scary. This is the wild number. They did a full breakdown, and I've got the breakdown here. Of those 400 Delaware teachers with the license issues, 260 or 57% of them, turns out they may never have had a license to teach at all.
Ever.
At all.
And they got in.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I don't know. I'm sitting there going, how? How do you apply and you never had a license? And how do they not check that at every step of the way of the hiring process? And who are these people?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, are they just random people that decided I'm going to become a teacher and then that's it? I mean, we got a bunch of Doogie Housers in there.
Well, okay. If you want to serve justice in our system, you could become a police officer.
Yeah.
And do the job that way, or you could be a vigilante.
Yes.
So these teachers
are vigilantes.
Yes.
It's nearly 160 educators on the list were working with an expired license. Mm-hmm. Another was a charter school. They had kindergarten through high school, and they alone had 28 names of teachers that never had a license. And this was a charter school. And one of the teachers, this is another wild thing. One of the teachers on the list of 400 is actually a state lawmaker that sits on an education committee and teaches during the day, and yet is not licensed to teach, but apparently is on the education committee and is a state lawmaker as well.
Okay, that's wild.
And so anyways, I thought this quote was interesting. This is a quote from the executive director of the Charter Schools Network, okay? This Kendall Massett, she said, I don't think that they're actually relevant or worthwhile for making sure that our children know how to read, write, or do arithmetic. So having a license to teach, she says, isn't worthwhile. She said, it's probably why I sit in the charter school space, right? Because I live in a space where I think we should do things a little differently. Okay. Well, here's the thing, Kendall. Next time you get pulled over, pull out your expired driver's license and hand it to the officer. And then when he says, I'm sorry, you don't have an active driver's license, go, I just live in a space where we do things a little differently, and see what happens. Because this just doesn't make sense.
Okay. First off, if you tell a cop, I live in a different space than you, he's like, fine, I have a perfect little space for you.
Yeah, I have a very convenient space. Yeah. We do things a little differently there as well. I don't understand it. You have to have a license to teach.
Yes.
It's just, I mean, I can't fathom like construction work. You license construction workers, you know?
Yes.
And you have licensing. Imagine your pilot gets off the plane and they're like, you're not licensed to fly. I mean, like, there's protocols for a reason. We are, again, just
Yes.
just
Well,
pushing down.
Here's the scary part, honestly. I know we're making jokes. If you didn't check their license, what else about that person did you not check?
Right. And so that's the other thing. They did address it in the story and
Yeah.
say all background checks were complete. It's just licensing's different. It's like, okay, well, maybe licensing shouldn't be different.
There you go.
Because I do care that the person passed a background check, but I also care that they're a licensed teacher who applied, was approved, had all the recommendations and requirements to teach
Yes.
done.
Because what damage have they done if they're not an efficient teacher and they've been there for how long? Who knows? And they've been teaching kids. Like,
Right.
what have you done?
Can you imagine what that would do at the college level in terms of accreditation?
It would be a nightmare.
Yeah, you would have to. You wouldn't. Your accreditation would, and then the diplomas mean nothing.
Nothing.
They can literally invalidate your diploma at the college level if you're not complying with the standards. But yet, a high school diploma, we just go, okay, it's okay that 28 of your teachers don't have a license. We think you got the correct education.
We hope.
We hope.
We hope.
Yeah, I don't know. The way that this person just passed it off, and I'm not anti-charter schools, but charter schools should also have to abide by the same rules and regulations in terms of certifying these teachers.
That's nuts.
I mean, it's a disrespect to us as teachers that got certified too. It's like, okay, that guy just walk off the street and I had to pay all the licensing and keep it updated and do all the professional development in order to keep it current and relevant. Anyway, sorry, I'm mad.
No, you should
James,
be.
James, take us to the home. Take us home.
Okay, I got you, brother. I got you. I got something for you. This is actually
tell me what
something
you got.
I think as a teacher you probably could appreciate on some level.
Okay.
Now, you've heard this saying, you can't put a price on parenting, right?
Right. I mean,
You
I
can't.
can try.
You could try.
Oh,
But what if I told you you could at least take the bad parents and find them?
go on.
Okay, there you go.
This could change my day around. I was in a funk, but now I see the light.
Now, they're saying, and this is over in England, they're saying the teacher should have the power to fine parents if they do not engage with the school to tackle an epidemic of bad behavior that they see going on in the schools over there. Now, this is done
Where's
by
it at? The UK?
the UK.
Okay.
This is done by former Prime Minister, Mr. Tony Blair.
I've heard of him.
He has a think tank, and he was saying educators should have some kind of legal power to be able to compel parents to get their kids to behave in class. Because here's a problem that you have told me about when it comes to kids' behavior. You'll call for a parent conference. They'll show up, but the parent will side with the child on the child's bad behavior.
Yep.
It's your fault, Devin,
Yeah.
that my son's not acting the right way.
Right. They
It's
don't
not
wanna
my
take
job.
responsibility.
Yeah. I don't home train. I don't do that anymore.
No.
It's your job.
The iPad can only do so much. Okay.
You know what I mean? So what they're saying, this would be an idea they're putting out there. Let's say the kid's having repeated issues. They're going to make the parent want to get involved because they're saying, I'm going to give you a small fine every time he acts up. Ooh. Every single time. Now, Devin, this is where it can get really good for you teachers.
Go on.
Imagine you wanted to really get your kids to do the things you want them to. You want to change their culture and behavior. There are certain rules you could come up with. Like, oh, before school, your parents take you to Starbucks. You walk in my class and I don't have one. That's a new behavior problem.
You know what I'm thinking here is
Yeah.
the students that leave class and then just wander the halls instead of actually going to the restroom.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like a taxi level meter.
Yes.
We just go ching, and then they leave. It's like tick, 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 tick,
Counting.
it's just going up. And then they come back and we just bill the.
Yeah.
I love that.
Welcome to Uber P. That's right.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely awesome. Now, I wanted to get your take on that. What do you think? Like, would that truly curb, you think, the importance or the involvement of parents in their kids' behavior if you could find them?
Yes, I think that you're opening up a can of worms if you do not have the utmost specific of guidelines. You have to have literally, if not A, then B. If not C, then money. You know, there has to be like steps to get there. Because I just think sometimes, a teacher had a bad day and you're like, oh, this kid's bothering me. I'm going to fine them. But sometimes we're not fair across the board and you don't find the other kid. And then the parent finds out and goes, that other kid skipped class and you skipped class. How come I'm getting the fine? And we can use it, they think that they're being targeted.
Yes.
And so we got to have a very strict, like, this is the third infraction. Here's all the other infractions. This is it needs to be like a last resort, but I think it could curb, once you start seeing that, but it has to be So I'm always leery of things like that in terms of money because for some reason, I don't know why, but there's obligations at the end of high school that a lot of schools have. The obligations that I saw that students were supposed to have to pay before they graduated, we just ignored.
Yep.
And so, like, they just left with a tab.
Yes, and that was my point. This would only work in theory if you could enforce them paying.
Yep.
If you could get some way to garnish their wages, which you can't, they're never going to pay this.
It would be nice if it was like a state reprimand, and not just a local school reprimand, but like the state gives you a parking certificate, and you have to, actually go and
or
pay
get
it.
it's like getting a traffic fine by a traffic camera.
Yeah,
you
that's
get
true.
that ticket. If you don't pay it, your license gets taken. So if they could find a way to do it like that way,
Yeah, you were late for class. Let's go ahead and look at the traffic cam. Yep, that's your backpack going down the hallway. Just flashes,
But here's what teachers actually said, and they agree with you. You're opening up a can of worms, basically, because you guys have enough responsibilities and duties as it is. So adding another job to the 8 you already do is going to cause problems. And who's going to have your back when you do it? What's going to happen is you guys are going to find the kid to give to their parents, and then the parents are going to come complain to admin. Admin's going to overrule you. Now you have to refund. Like, it's going to be a problem. Does it sound like a great idea in a way to try to tackle parents not being engaged in their students' life or their academic career? Yes. But is it feasible? Probably not, man.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those things where we're looking for a solution that's a solution.
Yes.
Is it the solution?
No.
Probably not.
that sounds good, though. Oh, you're fined.
Yeah.
You're fined.
I wish. I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
boy, oh boy.
I know, man.
I mean, it's endless.
It could be.
And it's also like you could pay online or $20 right now, and I rip this up.
That's what.
I'm a little behind on my rent payment.
Hey, look, I'm not supposed to do this, but
Yeah.
I like you, sir. Here's what I'm gonna do.
The one kid comes up to you, Mr. Siebold, are you ready to pay for your peanut brittle? Hold on 1 second, sir. You're not supposed to be wearing that. Give me $20. And there's my peanut brittle.
And
Got it.
there you go. Yeah. So that was one idea, but yeah, don't think it's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Well, we can dream.
We can dream.
Anyways, James, how can people find you online, my friend?
As always, you guys can find me at James Young Comedian on Instagram and Facebook. Please hit me up. I need more friends in my life.
Yes, he does. I've noticed he's lonely. He calls me at all hours of the night.
I do.
DevinComedy.com for upcoming tour info. And don't forget, Teachers Need Laughter if you want me to speak in your school. Or if you just want a nice laughter-filled night out, bring me and James over to your school as well. And, there's auditoriums. You could sell tickets, fundraisers even. That's an idea. So be sure to hit that 5-star button, hit like, hit subscribe, and tune in the week after next. Every other week we are here. Now, one last thing I want to tell you before we go away is I'm still on tour with the Board Teachers Comedy Tour. And if you're listening to this, not only do we have Australia, but Canada dates are on sale now as well. I will not be at the October 15th through 19th shows, but I will be at the remainder of the shows in October and November in Canada. I am super excited to see those Canadian teachers out again. We had such a good time there last time. It will probably sell out this time as well. So check those out at the boardteacherscomedytour.com for all those upcoming tour dates. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next other week for Crying at My Car podcast for teachers.